Alright, welcome back to the SuperCoach Knife channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about our round three trades. Um, Obviously, look at the trades as they currently stand, who's been traded in, who's been traded out. Um, Also, might have a look at the captaincy figures as well. So something a bit different to what we did last week there, but could make for some interesting reading. So bring up the players list, which is where we can usually access um, the traded in, traded out guys across the board. Um, so I guess started with well, yeah, let's start with the traded in. No, let's just go with most trades. I don't know what I'm doing here. Still figuring it all out, I suppose. And so you can see here a few popular options here for trading out Brandon Smith. So Red Marnie being the most popular option in, obviously, a little potential upgrade in terms of price, but also upgrade in terms of their output so far this year. Similar could be said for Wade Egan. I found this one to be quite interesting, how people were able to trade Brandon Smith to Jake Kraz in the centres. Obviously, the price change is not that different, but there's a few positional swings involved, perhaps a second rower and then centre wing, second row swing that way. Number four, Hammer in for James Tedesco. So obviously, a bit of a theme here with the Roosters not performing too well to start the season, uh, and people, I guess, jumping off Tedesco, probably with a view to bringing him back in, particularly after their bye in round four. So um, yeah, definitely an interesting option. Some more Brandon Smith trades. Ezra Mann into 5'8", so that, yeah, I guess through the likes of Katoa and Tanner Boyd perhaps making that trade happen. Harry Grant is obviously, if you can afford to go up to Harry Grant, absolutely do that. Cherry Evans, I guess, another swing with Tanner Boyd perhaps, but he obviously went all right against the Dogs a couple of weeks ago, hat trick. CNK to the Hammer, I think that's a bit of a panic trade or a sideways trade or however you want to class it. He should only be out for the 1 week, although I guess you never do know with concussions, so something to consider. Nathan Cleary, another sort of interesting trade out option. Obviously got the bye this week. Looks like we'll lose some money going forward. Um, and yeah, Wade Egan is that popular trading option, and Hammer to Talau. So I guess out of all these trades, that's probably the one I do rate. Obviously, if you've got that extra bit of cash, just the sideways Talau to the Hammer. I don't think it's a sideways option. I think it's a upgrade for sure. Um, so yeah, I guess in terms of who's been traded out, so Brandon Smith is easily the most popular trade out. Um, and as you'll see when we talk about my trades coming up, I'm going to go against that trend. So I can understand people saying, well, he's going to lose cash. The Roosters aren't playing that great, so I can trade him out, make some money, and then when he bottoms out, you can bring him back in. But I guess then you're wasting two trades. Admittedly, you could make some good money out of it, but I honestly think you can only make that move if you think Brandon Smith is going to be, your H hooker number two for the rest of the season. Um, and yeah, I think I would like to get to probably Damien Cook or even Reed Marnie, like the way he started for the Dogs and taken on that captaincy role. He could actually be a sneaky, um, hooker two sort of position behind Harry Grant. So yeah, so leaning towards holding Brandon Smith, Nathan Cleary. So he's the second most traded out. I guess having the bye this week and that potential price drop combined with perhaps expecting Nico Hines to come back next week, which is the latest word on the street, all sort of adds up to the trading Cleary out. Um, Also says he's got an ankle injury. Don't know what's going on there. Um, but another one I'm not 100% convinced on for myself and my team. Although part of when we talk about the trades is trying to come up with a plan to get Nico Hines in for round 4, assuming that he is going to be available. Kalen Ponga number 3, obviously the concussion, and I think also he might be on a massive break even. Actually, not too bad. That's right, he did quite well in round 1, didn't he? But yeah, the concussions are becoming a bit of an issue. So I can totally understand trading out. Hopefully he's only away for a week. I guess the new 11-day policy might get tested out there with him a bit, so he might miss the second game. Not quite sure how that lines up with the draw. So Tedesco, I guess this is sort of in line with what we were talking about with Brandon Smith. Um, yeah, I guess the difference is with Tedesco is that most people that have him probably would have him in their top 2, so you would be bringing back a keeper. So that's probably the difference there between trading Brandon Smith and trading James Tedesco, as it is 2 trades and you can make some good money if you time it right. But then you do end up with someone who you're happy to keep. I guess the issue with that is then you're also holding him over Origin, and if you've got someone like Travojevic alongside him, or even Latrell, um, then yeah, you're setting yourself up to maybe not have a fallback during those weeks. In saying that, the best 13 rule is in this year, so that might not actually be the biggest issue, not having a fullback. So yeah, fair enough to those 8,000 that are trading him out, and it's out of those 3 that I do have. He's the one that I'm most likely to get off of at this stage. CNK, so he's only out for 1 week, hopefully with the concussion. Um, the first week he showed what he's capable of at fullback, so I would not be trading him out and will not be, even though it might leave me a little bit short in the centre wing. Um, that's a risk I'm going to take. Tanner Boyd at 6th, so I guess has been underperforming, and also I guess was expected to be having Dave Fafita run off his hip. Unfortunately, Dave Fafita's moved over to the other side of the field and is doing bits off of Kieran Foran. So yeah, definitely a player I am looking to move on, but also I guess I am mindful that ultimately that position will become Nico Hines. So whether we go this week or we hold a week, um, just remains to be seen. We've only got 3 trades with the boost, unfortunately. Tommy Talau, so I mean, yeah, like I said, if you can sideways it to someone like a Hammer, um, maybe even a Tyrell Sloan if you want to go a little bit early. Um, I was, yeah, sort of, I guess, between his performance on the weekend and the media around him and the fact that he was sort of not in the right headspace last year sort of gives me a bit of confidence in him. And when we talk about our trades, that's one possible option to get to Nico Hines, is through using a bit of Tyrell Sloan. So yeah, so Tommy Taylor, that's fair enough. Scott Drinkwater, so he's out for 3 rounds. There's a lot of money sitting on the bench for 3 rounds, particularly if you're running with Tedesco as well. Um, Tommy Turbo, not so much an issue. But yeah, so fair enough, trade him out, get some points on the field. Matt Burton, so I traded him last week. That's totally understandable. Even when they ran right, he just didn't get the SuperCoach points. Um, yeah, so no, that's fair enough. And so on Cobbo, so I guess now that he's back on the wing, might not be, the ceiling. Well, the ceiling's still there because he scores tries. That's what he does, but I guess he just doesn't perhaps get his hands on the ball as much. So, and particularly, I guess people are trying to make some cash for Nico Hines and the like. So that's fair enough, I think. In terms of the traded ins, so the Hammer is yeah, number 1 traded, and I definitely agree. He's definitely the number one target on my list this week. Wade Egan at number two. So I guess probably the thing with Wade Egan is he's managed to score a try both weeks. So if we just, I'll bring up his stats from the first 2 weeks. So yeah, so 99 and 88. Right, so we can see that you got a try assist, a try contribution, um, a line break, 2 line breaks last week with the try. So for both of those, you're looking at about 30 points just in um, those attacking type stats. So he does have a decent base, as you can see there, 40 tackles. Um, yeah, it gets out of dummy half a bit, so I can see the appeal. And obviously, because he has scored those tries, he does go up in value. Um, but again, uh, you know, if you look at the run, he's got the Cowboys up in the Country Bank Stadium. I can think of the name of it. The Bulldogs, their defense is looking pretty good. Um, might be a bit biased, obviously. But then the Sharks, the Cowboys again, the Storm, the Roosters. So that looks like to me just a bit more of a quick cash grab, which is if that's your thing, absolutely. But yeah, I think there's better ways of using the trade. Um, and yeah, one of those appears a bit further down the list. So number three, Jacob Carraz. So yeah, he obviously looks like a 2023 version of Brian Tyler from a couple of years ago. Runs, busting tackles, offloads, scoring some tries. Um, so yeah, so I think if you have the luxury, which I clearly do not, where I need to desperately fix up my team, you're sitting in a good spot and you can afford to, sideways of Val Holmes, or you've got someone like a Selwyn Cobbo around that price, you could absolutely bring in Kraz. I'd love to. Don't know if I can make it happen. Perhaps with that cheeky Tedesco trade, perhaps. But I'd have to see how that shakes out. Red Money at four. So this is the one I'd prefer over Wade Egan. Obviously, you need to find a bit more cash to begin with. Um, but yeah, he obviously is a sneaky, hooker too, sort of lock for the rest of the year. Um, yeah, and I guess as well, the other advantage of that, particularly, I guess most people would go Grant and Cook, um, but unless something happens to Grant, you'd think Marnie's probably not going to play Origin. Definitely would do well with the maroon jersey on. I'm pretty sure he's a Queenslander from the sunny coast, but yeah, they're both not going to coexist, particularly when you got someone like Ben Hunt who plays that 14 role or even the 9, and Harry Grant obviously then plays 14. Um, yeah, so it's sort of hard to squeeze all them in. And at that point, anyway, if Grant's out, it would be through injury, so you'd be swapping around and things like that anyway. So yeah, I'd prefer Marnie over Egan personally, but again, I can see why people want to take the quick cash and run. Jacob Preston at number five, so he's another target. It's probably after the hammer. He is target number two for me this week, and yeah, he's going to play big minutes on that edge. He's even named in the 12 this week. Fatala Mariners moved into lock, and you know until even when Pango comes back, you think perhaps he would take Pele's spot on the bench as that more impact type player. Um, so yeah, I think it's only going to be perhaps when Patolo and even Thompson come back that Preston would be at risk of dropping to the bench, and even then, he if he proves himself, he could lock that spot in. So bottom dollar cheapy, good upside. You know, pretty sure he got over for a try last week. There was too many Bulldogs try scorers for once. I can't remember them all. That's right, he did his first try. I do remember now. So yeah, absolutely get on. Reece Walsh, so I think he's doing alright. Break even of two. Yeah, I haven't looked too much into him. Obviously, the big score last week. Oh, that's right. He only played the one game, and he missed round one. So, I guess everyone's excited about how he's looking at the Broncos. And yeah, it could be looking to sort of soften the blow of Tedesco stumbling at the start. Could even wait a week because Walsh's price isn't going to go up. Admittedly, Tedesco's would go downwards, and that could potentially be one of those ways we were talking about to try and get to Nico Hines. So you could go early, you could go later. I think it's not the worst shout, but again, it's just how you want to play it. Ezra Mann, so yeah, he does look really good for the Broncos. I haven't checked his scoring. Um, so yeah, scored 82. He's averaging 71 and a half. So his first game 61. Yep, so he'd have to be up there with Adam Dewey in terms of their leading 5'8" scorers. But yeah, he just looks good. Like he tackles well and defends, but then obviously has the attacking upside. Yeah, so I mean, you could absolutely go Ezra Mann at 5'8". I've obviously gone with Dewey, already made that switch, so I won't be doing it personally, but it's an option. Jermaine Hopgood, well, I don't think we really need to talk about that, do we? If you haven't got him, get him in. I think it's something like, I don't know, does it have his ownership stats here somewhere? I don't know, if they're not 100%, you're not super coaching properly. Four people trading him out, that's pretty funny. Just having a laugh. Or someone lost a bet. Braden Trindle, so yeah, he's one I toyed with bringing in, but now that Hines is going to be a bit back next week, it is literally a 1 week cash grab, or you can assume that. Yeah, so Cherry Evans is also on the list, so you'd assume he's a downgrade from Cleary. Be a bit hard, I think, to get him up from a Boyd or something like that. Although, admittedly, yeah, I mean, even if you did that, then you'd be running Cherry Evans with Hines, I suppose, once he's back up and running. Um, yeah, so those are the most popular options. Now, in terms of captaincy, that's what I wanted to look at while we're here too. So, captain's choice, what was it? Oh, sorry. Thought they had it here. Maybe it's coach's choice or something. Yeah, most popular captain. Here we go. So, most popular captain at the moment, Harry Grant at 15%. So, I guess after the embarrassing um, effort against the Dogs, the Storm will be up for a massive one. They're playing the Gold Coast, who aren't typically known for solid defence. Um, Although they're not as bad as they used to be, I suppose. But yeah, he's probably my choice at the moment, just off the back of that. Hopgood, so a lot of people just hoping he keeps tonning up, still playing big minutes. Um, yeah, I'm probably more of a VC kind of option with that. And I think, particularly with people on buys and stuff, you can afford to run the VC loophole a bit easier. The downside being, obviously, you do get an AE player, so someone like a Carl Pereira could end up being a bit yuck, or Franklin Pele, again, to use an example from my side in particular. Um, but, if he scores well enough, then it doesn't particularly matter. That'll balance out in the end. Tedesco, so people sticking solid. Maybe it's just people like me who haven't traded him or swapped him around or whatever the case may be. Same sort of deal with Cleary. Obviously, he's not playing this week, so he should be zero. Tommy Turbo, so 6.2. So he's the other, I guess, VC candidate playing that first game on Thursday night. Um, Val Holmes, I think they're playing early too. I can't see the fixtures here. Let's just click on him, I suppose. So 4:30 Saturday game. So the middle game on Saturday might be a bit late, so it'd have to be a sort of straight C option on him. And then after that, we're getting a bit obscure. Kraz at 2.4%. So I do think the Bulldogs will do well against the Tigers, but I think I'm not even that brave to put the C on him for the Bulldog Project side. So, um, yeah, yeah. Other than that, I don't think there's too much to note. But a few people still got the C on Nico Hines. That's interesting. Hasn't played all year. Obviously, players who set their team and they completely forgot that the season started. All right, so I guess what this all means for our team in the wash, or my team, I should say, in the wash. So I guess the first trade I want to make is I'm going to get rid of Pele and bring in Preston. So let's just go by break even. There we go. All right, so as we've talked about, Pele, he's just going to be playing that impact sort of short, sharp 10, 15 off the bench. Make 20 points in SuperCoach and then get off. Preston's going to play close to 80, score hopefully close to 80, but nice 40, 50, 60 even. Bottom dollar, you absolutely take that every day of the week. I guess the other one that's coming in for sure is the hammer. And this is where I guess we need to make some decisions. So obviously I'd love to get my massive cock up being Isaac Lumi out. So, that would be the trade, but obviously I need to make some money. I guess what I have toyed with was Boyd to Trindle for that quick cash grab, and then obviously that frees up the funds. So I might just quickly do that. Trade Boyd out, Trindle in. And that leaves me with about 100 in the bank. But then I guess the big issue is, well, how do we get Hines to up to Hines next week? Probably not going to have Hines and Trindle in the halves. That seems a bit silly. Um, so the obvious options are things like Holmes or Tedesco down to then upgrade. So I guess if we have a quick look at Trindle, projected at 37 to make 80k. So, I reckon he could get that pretty easy. So that pushes him up to 314. Push that up to 400. So we've still got to find 500k. We could use two trades. Ideally, we don't particularly want that. Um, yeah, and so I guess you'll notice as well, I haven't touched Brandon Smith. Um, for the reasons I've outlined before, he's going to stay in the side. Um, there probably is perhaps one exception to that, um, but I guess we can toss that up and we'll make a choice. So just remove that. I'll have to remove Lumi. So the next option I'm thinking is we actually, because Tedesco, if we have a look, he's got a break even of 135, and then Bunnies this week, the bye next week, then Para, Melbourne, Sharks. It's not the nicest run. So we could actually start making some cash this way by bringing in the hammer. And then, he'd probably do a little switcheroo with Nickel Clockstad to get into the centre wing this week. Tommy Turbo would be on the bench. So let's just get rid of that so we can see the money. So that gives us 563, which, would be enough to do the Boyd up to Hines trade easily. So, Boyd would have to lose a lot of money. And I think at the moment he's, predicted to lose 20k. So 29. Unless he got knocked out or something, I think he would be okay for that to occur next week with the single trade. So, we could go something like that. Um, yeah, like I said, the other option is to look at Val Holmes. So his break even is close to 102, but plays the Warriors. And I guess the reason why we started with Holmes was because of his good run. So he's still got the Titans, the Dogs, the Dolphins, the Warriors again, Newcastle. So, and a few of those games are up at Townsville Stadium there. So I don't think we can chuck him in just yet. I mean, we definitely could. Um, and the more I think about it, the more it might actually happen. So, yeah. So I guess what we want to try to do. No, actually, I don't think we will this week. So, yeah. So I think we can give him one more week, or actually, maybe we don't. Because I guess part of the key to bringing in Hines next week um, is going to be about sort of freeing up money with Val Holmes, and I was thinking of using Tyrell Sloan as an option. But what we could do to try and make some quick cash, and again, this is trading Holmes out. You might bring him back in later once he's dipped, but then you're assuming he's a keeper. I wouldn't want to do this with every player, by the way. So doing this with him and Tedesco is a bit sketchy. But what we could do is bring in Kraz. So building up that war chest for next week, 720k. Um, and so if we do that, let's just have a play around. So that's all looking good. We've got them. So Tanner Boyd would have to play because Cleary's on the bye this week. Alamotti and Khan Pereira would come in. Oh no, actually, sorry. Clockstone would swap. Oh, that's gone a bit skewiff. There we go. And then Thomas Trebojevic would come in there. So, we could shape the team up like this. So Karaz is, I guess, that cut price keeper at this time of year. Um, Tommy Turbo's there. I guess, well, actually, we could probably do it like that because, week on week, we'd probably want Nickel Clock starting the team over to River. Um, so we might set it up like that just so it's easier to see what the plan is going forward. Yep. So then next week we've got 700k. We could spend 500 of that to go Boyd up to Hines. Uh, Loomy would become Tyrell Sloan, and that would sort of create that fullback centre wing swing that way as well. So you could then get one of these guys off the field. Not that they're the worst to have on field, but ideally, you know, Nickel Clockstad would be there, and one of Taruva or um, Sloan would be there also. So then obviously the other one sits on the bench as a reserve or whatever we need to do. So I think that might actually work. I'm pretty happy with that. So yeah, it's a sort of, I guess, I hadn't originally planned this at the start of the video. Just as I was talking it through, this is the idea that's come, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty happy with it. So, in terms of the reserves, obviously Cleary's not a reserve, but I'm happy to give Brandon another go. It's basically going to be all the second rowers. Um, Stefano's there as well, so I think there was a little question mark over Oh, Brandon Smith, of course. So if he doesn't get up with his crook back, um, I might actually be pretty keen to just swap him to Stefano playing on Sunday. Yeah, so then I guess we can adjust this as we need to. Hopgood and Dory both playing first. Cam Murray, yep. So yeah, you could do that way. I mean, just to make it look nice, could just put Fafita there because they're all playing. So yeah, Boyd, Dewey, the four centre wings. Obviously, try not to play Khan Pereira if we can avoid it, and then Tommy Turbo. And so then I guess just the VCC. So I'm going to go with Tommy Turbo at 4 Pines as the VC. Obviously, a lot of people will be getting on Hopgood. So, it could blow up in my face yet again. But hey, when you're 66,000 or whatever you are, you've got to dare to be different. So, yeah, so that's how the team's going to look going into round three. So, obviously, that's not ideal, but it's only for 1 week. That's sort of part of the reason why we want to get Nico Hines in is to make sure that we've got that every week. Although I believe there's 1 week where they both have the same bye during Origin, so I can't win them all. So yeah, so there's the team. Like I said, sort of a bit of a bold manoeuvre, getting rid of Tedesco with the plan to bring him in. Got rid of our Holmes. He may or may not come back in. If Carraz keeps popping off, we'll be probably pretty happy with that. And yeah, that'll allow us a bit more firepower through the halves. Um, and yeah, we can do the sums next week. I don't know if it'll quite be Smith to Marnie. That would be sick. um, yeah, so maybe actually, nah, won't do it. I was going to have a look at trying to get Reed Marnie in, lock up that second hooker spot, but I don't think I can pull it off. So yeah, I'd have to either give up Preston, Kiraz, or Fidel. And I guess these trades were the ones that made me money. This is the one that's yeah, not worth much. Not worth enough, I don't think. Maybe it is. Well, let's just have a update the trade. So trade him out, bring him back in. Let's go the lowest price first. That'll be the easiest way. Franklin Pellet. So if I update that, it should give me an extra trade. Oh yeah, yeah, that's the green guy, isn't it? So that's Smith up to Marnie, gives us 600, which would be enough for that in one trade. What did we say with Boyd? Doing a bit of quick maths here. 20k off. So 360 minus. Yeah, so 360. Yeah. What was Sloan? I think he was about 290, isn't he? Oh yeah, close to 300. So that wouldn't quite work in the one trade. Then it'd have to be something like a Pele down to what Preston is now. No, not doing it. Cancel that. So Pele out, Cappy back in. Um, break even would be the way. Preston. Yeah. So I guess, yeah, again, just there to be different. Keep Brandon Smith around when others are bailing out on him. But yeah, freeing up that cash, getting ready to go for our man Nico Hines to come in next week. All right, but we'll end the video there. I'm sure that the ramblings are putting a few people off. Apologies for that, but it's just the way we operate. um, so thank you very much for watching the video. Feel free to comment, by the way, if you have different thoughts. It might be a little bit late by the time the game kicks off, but hopefully get in the next 24 hours. Um, and yeah, if you're loving the content, like the videos, subscribe to the channel. It's really appreciated. And other than that, I'll see you in the next one.